Thank you very much, the Dean, School of Business Studies. I hereby enjoin all our participants who cannot hook up on Zoom to join us on Facebook. We are streaming live on Facebook now. We are on YouTube rather. We are streaming live on YouTube now. We are now streaming on YouTube live. All participants can join us on YouTube, please. Those that cannot have their way into this Zoom should join us on YouTube. We are live on YouTube globally now. Thank you. I will not waste much time. I can see the director is getting ready for me. Director is the Chief Executive Officer of the Polytechnic. But today, with due respect, sir, I am actually the one that will give instruction for director to prepare speech. You are highly welcome, sir. The rector, who is the chief host of the Polytechnic, should be getting ready to give us the address. While the dean's address was on, we had in our midst again the Dr. Mrs. CEO Adeusi, the immediate past Polytechnic, the immediate past deputy rector of the Polytechnic, joined us. And she has been saddled with the responsibility of reading the citation of the lead paper presenter. And the keynote presenter too joined us, Professor Adam Sonuka from the University of Ibadan. You are all welcome, sir. I have the singular honor and divine privilege to invite the rector, the chief executive of the Federal Polytechnic Ede, to present his welcome address to the whole world and at the same time declare this record-breaking conference open. Mr. Rector, you are on, sir.
Thank you very much. Principal Officers of Polytechnic, the presenter, deans of school directors, heads of departments, the local organizing committee across the country, ladies and gentlemen. It is my pleasure to welcome you all to the 18th Annual National organized by the School of Business Studies, Federal Polytechnic Ede, and this happens to be the first virtual conference in this year of It is a great blessing and amazing and record-breaking event in the history of our dear institution, especially as it's coming up in the midst of the fear of the pandemic ravaging the world. However, I'm not surprised that the School of Business Studies is setting the pace in this area by organizing this academic conference at a time like this. It's only confirming the statement that says, where there is a will, there is a way. Permit me therefore to congratulate and celebrate the Dean School of Business Studies, Dr. Taiwo Adebayo, my namesake Taiwo, members of staff of the school, members of Research and Business Committee, and the entire Polytechnic community on this great occasion. Now that the Federal Polytechnic has very recently been given approval to run open distance and flexible learning programs in all our accredited courses by the National Board of Technical Education (NBT), coupled with the collaboration program for the Polytechnic and offshore. These virtual courses as the testing ground big efforts. Although type of program at the time like this may not portray a lot of key symptoms and some other physical challenges associated with our country. I still believe this conference will create a lasting impact on the socio-political terrain of our dear country, Nigeria, especially with the choice theme, corruption and national development. Needless to say that corruption, among other definitions, includes plagiarism, theft of intellectual property of others, intimidation, and blackmail to cover up for illegal investigation of the case witnessed in the institution in recent times. This administration remains undaunted, but focused on achieving its vision and mission to make the Federal Polytechnic Federal a polytechnic indeed, and the best of all. So help us God. With the number of erudite scholars and professionals coming to deliberate on this thing, it is believed they will be able to do justice to the team and come up with a number of recommendations to overcome this evil and this vice called corruption with a view to move Nigeria forward. On this note, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished academics, permit me to declare open the 18th annual virtual conference of the School of Business Studies, Federal Polytechnic Ede. I wish you all successful celebration. Thank you for listening. Congratulations. So the conference is hereby to the glory of God Almighty declare open.
I apologize for the breaking transmission. This is the situation we found ourselves in the country. It was the network provider that just dropped me like that. Now, thank you, Director, for that short welcome address and for making this conference official at last. We have kickstarted the conference officially now. Director has declared the conference open. Now, the next thing we have to do here is the citation of the lead paper presenter. May I request the lead paper presenter to please stand while I invite Mr. Nathaniel Adewusi to read his citation. The lead paper presenter, please. Yeah.
Director, sir, all the principal officers, the dean, the lead people presenter, participants, good afternoon, good morning. I'm pleased to read the citation of the lead people presenter, a seasoned scholar, Professor Buki Lalude. Professor Buki Lalude obtained his first degree in history at the then University of Ife, now Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife, in 1984, and an MSc as well as a PhD in political science at the University of Ibadan in 1986 and 2006 respectively. Professor Lalude was a civil servant at the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture, Lagos, a financial expert at the Commercial Bank Financial House, and a journalist at the Monitor newspapers, Ibadan, between 1987 and 1996, before commencing a career in the academics. Lalude's career in the university started with an appointment as an assistant lecturer in the political science department of the then Ogun State University, now Olabisi Onabanjo University of Goiwe, in 1996. He rose through the ranks, advancing to lecturer 2, position in year 2000, lecturer 1 in 2003, and senior lecturer in 2007, all in Olabisi Onabanjo University. Lalude moved to Fountain University, Osogbo in 2009, where he was promoted associate professor in 2012 and professor in 2015. He has held various administrative duties in the past 24 years as project coordinator in year 1997 to 1999, level advisor 1999 to 2001, departmental and faculty coordinator of the Sandwich Program 2002-2006, and head political science department 2007-2008, all at Olabisi Onabanjo University, Agoiwoye. Was appointed head political science department of Fountain University, Osogbo, in 2009, and became dean of the institution's College of Management and Social Science in 2010. Lalude was appointed pioneer dean of the postgraduate school in 2015, a post he held till 2016, when he again resumed as Dean, College of Management and Social Science. Professor Lalude was on a research visit to the University of Texas at Austin and the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, both in the United States of America in 2014. Professor Goke has taught a part-time basis at the Traditional University of Education and Crescent University, both in Ogun State, as well as Osun State University and Summit University, Kwara State. He was external examiner to the University of Ilorin's Political Science Department between 2012 and 2014. He was also external examiner to seven PhD theses at the Babcock University, Ileshan Iremo, between 2014 and 2017. He has taught many postgraduate courses and supervised various postgraduate theses. Ladies and gentlemen, Professor Goke Lalude, who is the current Dean, College of Management and Social Science, Fountain University, Osogbo, has published widely in reputable journals, both within and outside Nigeria. He has also attended and organized conferences within and outside the country. To God's glory, he is married with 3 daughters. To God be the glory.
Thank you very much, Mr. Adeusi, for that citation. I am sorry for breach of protocol. Please pardon me. I want to take this. I have been informed that the principal officers of the Polytechnic have goodwill messages. We'll take some goodwill messages from them. Please, from 1 or 2 of them, we want to take some goodwill messages from them. I don't know, we'll switch back to the director's office. I understand all of them are there with the director. We will switch back to the director's office where we take 1 or 2 goodwill messages from the principal officers. Director's office, please.
All right, what are you your good message? All right.
Let me, by the divine power that I have today, call on the Deputy Director Academics to give us a goodwill message. The Deputy Director Academics are here on.
All right. Before that, we give his goodwill message. The Deputy Director will follow. Oh, yeah, both that. Yeah. The rector.
The Deputy Director Academics are Engineer Dr. J.O. Petering.
Well, the brother is going to give first. All right, what's that? The rector. Thank you.
And the principal officers on grant, the dean, School of Business Studies, and the chairman of the Research and Publications, in person of Mrs. Oyeleko CEO, and the invited guests. I want to welcome everybody to this citadel of Mary. And I consider myself so lucky. Therefore, I'm happy to be a witness, to this virtual conference and the first of its kind on this campus. I wish you happy celebration as we continue the conference. Thank you very much.
Good morning, my colleagues. and participants all over the world. I'm highly delighted for this virtual meeting, which happened to be the first of its kind at Federal Polytechnic Ede. I want to rejoice with the Dean, School of Business Studies, and the School of Business Studies at large as a pace setter of this virtual conference. It's what we have been expecting for long. When there are challenges, there should be solution. This cannot just continue the way we have been doing programs before. With this virtual conference now, I believe we are going to have many participants, more than before, because it has reduced the risk on the road, transportation risk. It has reduced financial costs on accommodation, and it has reduced so many things. And not only that, we are going to have more to benefit from this virtual conference when participants are presenting, because we are going to have many presentations. And we help our academicians to have many publications, because I believe that after this presentation, the paper will be reviewed and be published on the net. I want to congratulate the Dean and the School of Business Studies, and most especially the Chief Executive of Federal Polytechnic, our Rector, Dr. John Taiwo Adekolawole. You know, he's a man of internet, and I want to now encourage us that with these advantages that we are going to benefit from this virtual conference, that all nations and this should be able to sponsor their staff with the 10,000 for registration, which is very cheap. They should be able to sponsor at least 2 lecturers from the department, and the dean should be able to sponsor at least 5, while the institute should be able to sponsor at least 10 for this conference. Because it will go a long way when we have to sponsor people for conference. We have the transportation costs, we have the accommodation, all those things. It makes it to be light, but now it's fairly cheaper. And I want participants to please listen attentively to this particular program. Don't say when it is my turn, I will present, then you leave the place. You know, during the face-to-face conference, if you don't present, your paper will not be published. That is incomplete. Therefore, you have to present, you have to participate, and you have to respond. If you didn't listen to it, you will not be able to ask questions that will be able to help others. Please, let's join us together, and let's be on this conference 24/7, so that we're able to have the benefit of the conference. Once again, I say congratulations to the Dean, School of Business Studies, and the School of Business Studies at large. God bless you.
Thank you very much from the Office of Director. I'll take one more so that we'll save our time and we'll move over from there. Thank you very much, sirs.
The Rector, sir, the Dean School of Business Studies, Dean School of Business Studies, all HODs in the School of Business Studies, stakeholders, I want to say congratulations for this opportunity. And I want to say that I'm delighted to be invited to participate at this conference as one of the principal officers at the Federal Polytechnic. I bring you greetings on the occasion of the 18th Annual National Conference of the School of Business Studies, which is holding virtually via Zoom cloud meeting application with the theme Corruption and National Development. I must congratulate the Dean, all the heads of department in the School of Business Studies, the Research and Publication Committee of the School of Business Studies for choosing this theme, which in our view is very apt considering the concern of all for national development in Nigeria. And we all know there cannot be any national development with corruption. And therefore, it is very, very important that solutions to this corruption that has become endemic must be provided at this conference for there to be national development in Nigeria. Once again, I congratulate all the stakeholders at this conference, and with us, I wish us all fruitful deliberations. Thank you all. God bless you.
The voice you have just heard is the Deputy Rector Admin, Alhaji IT Adelabu. He is one of us in the School of Business Studies. We are proud of you. Thank you very much, sir. I will switch over from the rector's office now. The next item before me is the keynote address. The keynote address, Professor Adams Onuka from the University of Ibadan. You can unmute yourself, sir. I have activated you to unmute yourself. And you can show us your video. You can share your video with us, sir. He's joining us via Zoom from Ibadan. Professor Adams Onuka is the keynote presenter. You are welcome on board, sir, to take your keynote address. You are welcome, sir. Professor Adams Onuka, we are waiting for your video, sir. Sir.
Good.
Oh, the keynote presenters are waiting for you. We apologize for that. Possibly he's having some technical challenges from his end. We hope to resolve that soon. The registrar of the Polytechnic, Alaji IT Agbolaya, welcome. I can see you here, but I cannot see your video. The deputy rector, please, we are still waiting for the okay. The keynote presenter, sir, you can unmute yourself. I activated you to unmute yourself. Otuba Park Williams Alade, you are welcome. Dr. Mrs. N.N. Nwakwa, the Director of Academic Planning, you are welcome. Dr. Mrs. H.A.L. Babalola from Canada, you are welcome. Is he on?
No.
You are not heavy. Is he on?
I didn't hear you.
They have the same phone. What do you shake it in? You shake it on.
Now, the keynote presenter is on now. Thank you very much, sir. We are waiting your video. We can have audio from you now, but we have not gotten your video. The keynote presenters are, you can proceed with the audio while you. The keynote presenter, you can proceed with the audio while we await your video. I think we will not waste our time further. We will still be working with him. He's having a technical problem joining us from Ibadan via Zoom. I will move to the next item. We'll take the keynote address after the lead paper. So that is what is going to happen now. On this note, I will invite the lead paper presenter. Lead paper presenter, Professor Goke Lalude, to please step up to the podium to give us the lead paper. You are highly welcome.
Director, Federal Polytechnic Ede, Dr. J.T. Adekolawole. The guest speaker, Professor Adams Unuka. All principal officers of Federal Polytechnic Ede. The Dean, School of Business Studies, Federal Polytechnic Ede, Dr. T.O. Adebayo. The chairperson, Research and Publications, Mrs. C.O. Oyelekan, and all our team, gentlemen of the press, and every participant that is present here, I wish to welcome us to this 18th and of course the very first virtual international conference of the School of Business Studies. I want to start by congratulating the rector on the quality of staff of this great institution. I must say that the doggedness and the zeal of the research and publications committee cannot but be commended. That the committee did not allow the pandemic that threatened to lock the whole world down, to lock this conference down, is a feat that is second to none. May I assure you that the sky can only be a starting point. The very first of the sub-themes of this conference is rather striking. It is COVID-19 and corruption. When this conference was conceived, COVID-19 was still strange to us, and not many were familiar with or even had any premonition of any pandemic of that sort ravaging the society and indeed the entire globe. In essence, COVID-19 is a phenomenon that is new to us, and its management was so recent that it couldn't have become related to corrupt practices except it is inborn in the system. That COVID-19 is associated already with corruption as it presently is cannot but be viewed and described as unfortunate and tragic. It actually summarizes how entrenched corruption has become in virtually every fabric and sector of this nation. The Nigerian state, for about 3 decades now, has been disconcerted and implanted in a serious cankerworm that has eaten deep into the fabrics of the society and has refused to disintegrate from the country. Corruption as a disease has pervaded, becoming deep-seated in the country, so much that it appears to be synonymous with the name of the country, Nigeria. It now appears that corruption has become completely institutionalized, determinedly entering into the realm of culture and the value system, and is now a norm. Offspring born into it are fed with it after growing up in it, socializing with it, and eventually living and possibly dying in it. Corruption has coexisted with the human society for a long time and has remained the major problem threatening and featuring in both developing and developed nations, with tempting repercussions on political and socio-economic development. The Nigerian case is, however, particularly unique because it has resisted possible solutions. Given the enormous resources the country is endowed with, the level of the nation's development, if it does not commensurate with the resources, should be expected to at least be tangential with it. This is because Nigeria is richly blessed with natural resources that are capable of financing development and meet the basic consumption as well as developmental needs of the nation. Yet, Nigeria ranks among the least developed countries in the World Bank League tables. According to Muye, Adewumi, Obolo, and Sajo, about 90% of the Nigerian government revenue is received from the extractive industries. Nigeria produced more than 1.9 million barrels of oil per day in 2014 to rank as the 11th largest oil producer in the world. Between 2015 and 2019, the country produced around 2 million barrels per day. In that sense, without any doubt, Nigeria benefits significantly from the sale of oil in the global markets. Since the discovery of oil in the country, Nigeria has received billions of dollars in revenue from the extractive industry. This thus places the country in a better position to champion development-oriented agenda. There is therefore no excuse for Nigeria to be underdeveloped, considering the enormous revenue accruing to the country on a daily basis and the human capacity with which the country is endowed. Without doubt, corruption has spread to the nooks and crannies of the Nigerian society. The resources meant for education, health, roads, water supply, and other basic and infrastructural facilities that are stolen and captured by a few Nigerians through corrupt acts hinder economic, political, technological, and social development, resulting in poverty all over the country. Many communities in the world today hold their development to the wealth produced from mineral and other natural resources in their environment. In Nigeria, however, the reverse is the case, as the huge wealth generated from crude oil and gas has not translated into improved quality of life, and rather it has culminated in abject poverty, as well as general underdevelopment due to the endemic corruption in the system. Corruption has gone on unabated, getting even more sophisticated by the day. In spite of series of developed strategies that are aimed at development that have been put in place by successive governments, and sometimes with good intentions, all have proved futile. The focus of this presentation, therefore, is the exploration of corruption and the effect on national development. Conceptual framework. Corruption. Corruption may not be easy to define. There is no universal consensus on what constitutes corruption. Despite the complexities that surround the concept of corruption globally, in terms of its multi-dimensional nature, with regards to cultural, sociological, psychological definition, and secrecy cum measurability, corruption has continued to attract interests of scholars, advocates, governments, and multilateral organizations. This is so given the challenges and problems that are associated with the menace globally. Corruption has therefore deferred a single definition in literature, possibly due to its rampant philosophical, cultural, and psychological dimensions. Corruption is from the Latin word corruptus, which implies to break or destroy. Denotatively, therefore, corruption means to break away, depart from morality, ethics, and virtues. It is therefore normal and acceptable to define a corrupt entity or individual as one that lacks moral, principle, value, goodness, decency, probity, accountability, honesty, and integrity. That a corrupt-minded person is one that deviates from societal norms and values, those unwritten codes, ethics, conventions, traditions, habits that make a decent and civilized society. According to the Oxford Advanced Learners Dictionary, corruption is defined as dishonesty encompassing deceitfulness, fraudulence, lying, untruthfulness, treachery, and duplicity. Similarly, the World Bank defines the concept as the abuse of public office or trust for private gain. The concept of
pin that video. Okay. Before you go, we are highly sorry for the technical problem. It was due to the network challenges. This is one of the reasons why we feel Nigeria is not yet ripe for all these online events. We apologize greatly for that break in transmission. We are now back live. So the lead paper presenter will continue his presentation now. The lead paper presenter, sir, you can go ahead now, sir.
Thank you very much. The concept of national development. Development is associated with modernization, material advancement, industrialization, scientific and technological progress, also including the emergence of nuclear energy, electronic and biological revolution, new knowledge about man and the universe. Boyega captures development as an idea that embodies all attempts to improve the conditions of human existence in all ramifications. It implies improvement in material well-being of all citizens in a sustainable way. Such that today's consumption be removed or drastically reduced. It has to do with urbanization, sociocultural transformation, mass literacy, vertical and horizontal mobility, employment opportunities, and the emergence of specialized and independent occupational roles. National development, therefore, can be described as the overall development or a collective socio-economic, political, as well as religious advancement of a country or a nation. This is best achieved through developmental planning, which can be described as the country's collection of strategies mapped out by the government. Anti-corruption crusade of the present government in Nigeria. It is apposite to start by asserting evidently that President Muhammadu Buhari possesses the desired dispositions and political will to combat corruption in Nigeria. He had averred in his campaign talks especially towards the 2015 general elections, the hills of corruption, and as well pointed out, while it was pertinent to put an end to such menace that had negatively affected Nigeria's growth. President Buhari, while in Chatham House in London in February 2015, avouched that his utmost priority, if elected, was to tackle two ills that are ballooned under the then Goodluck Jonathan administration: waste and corruption. On the latter, at least, he can point to some progress. His administration has worked more closely with the US, the UK, and various Middle Eastern countries to seize and repatriate assets from public officials suspected to have been purchased with illicit funds. Nigeria's leading anti-corruption agency, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has also become more active. It has launched a series of investigations into former high-ranking public officials from previous administrations, and in particular, former cabinet officials, state governors, and senior civil servants. However, just months before voters returned to the polls in February 2019, public perception of Buhari's anti-corruption drive remained poor. Despite a number of high-profile persecutions in the early days of the administration, investigations have seldom led to any significant convictions. The slow pace of court cases has also impeded successful prosecutions. Challenges in securing sufficient evidences have also negatively affected prosecutions. Corruption cases have been on the increase despite anti-corruption crusades. The porosity and inability to probe alleged corrupt cases in Nigeria has immensely contributed to the continuous leakage of capital from Nigeria for illegal deposits abroad. Corruption and national development crisis in Nigeria. A vibrant and steel sector is necessary and critical for the infrastructural and technological development of any nation. Nigeria is blessed with all the raw materials required for such development, including iron ore, coal, natural gas, and limestone. Had the third National Development Plan, 1975 to 1980, and specifically between 1976 and 1978, Nigeria commenced the construction of two integrated iron and steel plants located in Ajaokuta and Alaja, as well as 3 rolling mills at Osogbo, Jos, and Katsina. These projects were expected to kickstart a vibrant iron and steel sector in Nigeria. However, due to lack of transparency and accountability, all these publicly owned iron and steel companies folded up. Ajaokuta Steel Rolling Company has been under construction in the past 41 years, gulping as much as 7.5 billion naira by 1995. The steel rolling company in Kogi State, built on a 24,000 hectare site, which started in 1979, was mismanaged and remains incomplete 41 solid years later. 3/4 of the complex have been abandoned, and only the light mills have been put into operation for small-scale fabrication and production of iron rods. After several failed attempts at privatization, the Nigerian government took back control in 2016. The Ajaokuta steel mill has not produced a single sheet of steel by December 2017. The light mills were only finally put into operation in 2018 for small-scale fabrication of iron rods. Alaja Steel Company was established to be the flagship of the steel industry in West Africa. Nearly 4 decades after its commissioning in 1982, however, the steel giant continues to totter due to what Hamzat described as bad government decisions and dishonest corporate governance. Built on 172 hectares of land at the cost of $1.89 billion, when $1 was exchanged for 0.16 naira at the parallel market, Delta Steel was the Nigerian dream to industrialization, actually conceived to lead the steel production
Okay. Yeah, sorry once again for the break in transmission. It was due to circumstances beyond our control. The network providers are not being fair to us. We apologize. The lead paper presenter, you can move on, please.
Thank you very much once again. By 1997, a 1 million ton capacity steel plant with a capability to produce 950,000 metric tons of billets and 320,000 metric tons of rolled products could hardly produce a single billet. The founding units, which earlier produced spare parts for Peugeot Automobile Nigeria in Kaduna, had to be closed down. Amazingly, the story is different in the countries that embarked on a similar industrial journey with Nigeria. Midrat Corporation, producing direct reduced iron for Delta Steel Company Brazil, with a similar type of plant as Alaja, started to operate at capacity almost 10 years after installation. Argentina hit and surpassed installed capacity after 7 years. Venezuela after 11 years. Egypt after 6 years. Iraq after 10 years. Saudi Arabia after 3 years. India after 7 years. And South Africa hitting above 50% after 4 years. Oil price was at $28.03 per barrel in 1999, when the current political dispensation took off, jumping to $37.22 the following year, and was as high as $37.96 in 2003. By 2004, oil price had jumped to $56.37 and further increased to $69.91 and $77.05 in 2005 and 2006, respectively. By 2007, oil price jumped to $99.16. And as if this was not enough, it increased to $145.31 in 2008. Even though it dropped to $81.03 in 2009, it again increased to $91.48 in 2010. And by 2011, oil price had jumped to $113.39, and in 2012, $109.39. It was still as high as $110.62 in 2013 and $107.95 in 2014. In essence, between 2008 and 2014, oil price was at an average of $110 per barrel. Production of oil was also at its peak at this period. In 2008, Nigeria produced as much as 2.10 million barrels of oil per day. 2009, 2.11 million barrels. 2010, 2.47 million barrels. 2011, 2.38 million barrels. 2012, 2.32 million barrels. 2013, 2.18 million barrels. And 2014, 2.21 million barrels. The implication of this is that for the period between 2008 and 2014, when the average price of oil was $110 per barrel, Nigeria did not produce less than 2 million barrels on a daily basis. A simple arithmetic gives us an average of $200 million that was generated on a daily basis between 2008 and 2014. The big question, therefore, arises. What was done with this large revenue? This illustrates in clear terms the destructive tendencies of corruption to any nation. There seems to be a global consensus among scholars that corruption is a major impediment to governance and development. This consensus points to the fact that corruption is a global phenomenon. Corruption, of course, is a universal problem with complex causes. Its net effect is commonly regarded as negative for all societies, especially developing countries. More importantly is to state that in spite of its universality, manifestations, tendencies, and complexities of corrupt practices vary across borders. For instance, the rate, or rather the occurrence of corrupt incidences varies in developed and underdeveloped countries. The sophistication to carry out corrupt practices is also not the same. This is because technological inventions and strong institutional mechanisms capable of detecting and punishing offenders exist and are more effective in developed societies than the underdeveloped. The level of literacy and public awareness towards resisting the temptation of corrupt practices are also not same. Thus, the pervasiveness of corruption tends to make it a household concept as it traverses all nooks and crannies of every society, though at different magnitude. The present state of many public goods, such as schools, roads, railways, airports, hospitals, and the likes, seem to support the claim that the effect of corruption is negative. This explains why the World Bank 2000 identified corruption as the single greatest obstacle to economic and social development, as it distorts the role of law and weakens the institutional foundations upon which economic growth depends. That once a nation tackles and solves the problem of corruption, the entire problem facing such a nation is appreciably over. The above explanations undoubtedly have severe implications on national development of a state. As can be seen, if corruption undermines collective necessities through the abuse of public office for private ends, there may be no doubt that developing the socio-economic and political spheres will suffer a huge setback. For instance, nations with strong government institutions with less corruption incidences tend to experience steady and rapid development, unlike nations with huge corruption incidences. Africa, and Nigeria in particular, appear to have made little or no improvement in the areas of national development, making tremendous improvement in establishing corruption as a national guide. In fact, in some instances, national awards are given to highly corrupt individuals who have demonstrated the service to the people while in public office. In Nigeria, there seems to be no punishment for corruption. What amplifies corruption in the country is that punishments have been substituted for praises and national awards for individuals alleged to have engaged in corruption acts. The implication has been that the ever-growing unemployment, insecurity, economic hardship, with poverty that is underdeveloping the underdeveloped Nigerian society persists. There is no gainsaying the fact that corruption impels national development. However, arguably, corruption has over the decades in Nigeria appeared to be more institutional and political in nature. This is because the ruling class has proved to be the major promoters of corruption. Indeed, the continued high prevalence of corruption in Nigeria is as a result of the fact that beyond institutional weaknesses, leaders seem to have infiltrated escape routes in the making of anti-corruption laws. As a result, political corruption has been at its peak with overwhelming, monumental negative effects and consequences. For instance, for over a decade, Nigeria has always been rated very high among the globally most corrupt nations as rated by the Transparency International. Nigeria was rated most corrupt in 1996, 1997, and 2000. It was one of the very corrupt countries in 1998, 1999, 2000, 2001, 2002, 2003, and 2004, and of course, 2005. The picture has not been too good in 2016, 2007, 2006, 2007, 2017, and 2018, with the best of Nigeria's record in 2008, when it ranked 121 out of 180 countries. The consequences of corruption on the nation's socio-political and economic development are myriad. The foremost effect of corruption is that it leads to a reduction in economic growth and development by lowering incentives to invest, and it also leads to a divestment in such economies. Serious investors, according to Chibi, are always wary of offering incentives before being allowed investment rights or operational licenses. To the above is the fact that foreign investors are also prone to withdraw their capital from a country with a high incidence of corruption, because the risk involved in doing business in such nations sometimes outweigh the benefits. Granted that it has been argued that corruption provides both local and foreign investors the leverage to surmount bureaucratic impediments, yet the number of such successful deals is a far cry from the avalanche of investors that have stripped off their hard-earned money. Corruption also alters the pattern of government expenditure. Experience has shown that in highly corrupt countries, officials throw government funds more into large and hard-to-manage projects, such as airports or highways, than on social services like health and education. This has been a stumbling block to people enjoying the social fruits of good governance. corruption contributes immensely to inhibition of economic performance, since it negatively affects investment and economic growth, which is detrimental to national development. If corruption discourages investment, limits economic growth, and alters the composition of government spending, it automatically hinders future economic growth and sustainable development. Corruption tarnishes the image of a nation. Perhaps Nigeria suffers more than most societies from an appalling international image created by its inability to deal with bribery and corruption. Corruption contributes to the problem of mass poverty and renders millions of Nigerian citizens unemployed and uneducated. The poverty profile of Nigerians appears to be deteriorating. The UNDP Development Report of 2019 for Nigeria indicates that 51.4% of the population are multi-dimensionally poor, while an additional 16.8% are classified as vulnerable to multi-dimensional poverty. The breadth of deprivation in Nigeria, which is the average deprivation score experienced by people in multi-dimensional poverty, is 56.6%. In Nigeria, corruption led to decaying infrastructure, inadequate medical services, falling educational standards, mismanagement of foreign loans, bloated imported bills, and public expenditure, while also reducing production capacity, thus leading to distortion of the economy through waste and miscellaneous and misallocation of resources. Manifestation of corruption has remained the most notorious social menace threatening the general growth and development of Nigeria. Exhibition of corrupt tendencies by public officials have bastardized the pace of growth and development in all facets. The most frustrating reality is that these looted funds are not even invested in Nigeria, but are dumped in foreign accounts, thus assisting the economies of those states. Manifestation of corruption has broadened the gap between the rich and the poor. While the rich keep living in affluence, the poor suffocate in abject poverty and illiteracy. The Praetorian Guard that interfered in Nigerian politics addressed all forms of transparency and accountability, and as a matter of fact, institutionalized corruption manifestations. Conclusion. From the above analysis, it could be established that though corruption is a global phenomenon, its impact on nations' quest for development varies. In Nigeria, it has become a way of life, and its ripeness has hindered, undoubtedly, national development. Noticeably, the growing poverty, unemployment, and insecurity have snowballed into national development crisis. It is therefore recommended that there should be a paradigm change from the hitherto elitist-driven corruption eradication programs to more radically independent and strong anti-corrupt institutions that will be capable of penalizing all involved in corrupt practices without fear or favor. Also important is the development and strict implementation of national development plan that can address the issue of poverty, unemployment, and security, while wishing us fruitful deliberations at this conference. I thank you all for your rapt attention.
Thank you very much, the lead paper presenter. On behalf of the committee, appreciate you for your diligence, and despite the 2 breakups that we have, you are still able to deliver exclusively the content and the theme of the conference. Then we want to appreciate you for coming and for the powerful presentation. We will take question and answer on the conference, on the lead paper, after the moderation by Dr. Mrs. CEO Ajewole Oriboguje. You are highly welcome to moderate the lead paper. Thank you.
The lead paper has been taken by Professor Luke from Fountain University, Osogbo, Osun State, Nigeria, on the Nigeria. In fact, the professor has really done justice to the theme of this conference. His paper notes that corruption has been around for decades in Nigeria, and the phenomenon has refused to disintegrate from the country, as it has become deep-rooted and it appears synonymous with the name of the country, Nigeria itself. It notes that corruption has been with the human society for a long time, but the case of Nigeria is a unique one because it has resisted possible solutions. Given the enormous resources that the country is endowed with, the level of the nation's development should be commensurate with the resources, but this is not the case. Despite the fact that Nigeria is blessed with natural resources, corruption does the nation no good. And the resources meant for education, for health, for roads, for other infrastructural facilities are stolen by just few Nigerians, few corrupt Nigerians. And these have hindered the political, economic, and technological development in the country. The paper states further that many countries, many communities in the world owe their development to the wealth that they produce from mineral and other natural resources in the environment. But in Nigeria, even with the huge wealth generated from crude oil and gas, Nigeria is going poor by the day. And the corruption has gone unabated, and it even becoming more sophisticated by the day. So the focus of the paper is the exploration of corruption and its effects on national development. Going to conceptual framework, according to the professor, corruption may not be easy to define because it has defied a single definition, probably because of its rampant philosophical and cultural psychological dimensions. So the term corruption, according to the paper, has been ideologically, morally, culturally, politically, and intellectually elusive to the point of losing sight of its detrimental and parasitic symbiosis with many nations, including Nigeria. and all over the world. It then follows that a corrupt-minded person is one that deviates from societal norms and values. Those unwritten codes, ethics convention, and so on and so forth. By means of definition, the IMF, International Monetary Fund, views corruption as an abuse of office or trust for private benefits. And it clearly defines it as temptation indulged in by not only public officials, but also those in position of trust and authority in private enterprise or non-profit organizations. The paper moves on to talk about the concept of national development. According to the paper, the development is associated with modernization, material advancement, industrialization, and so on and so forth. National development, therefore, can be described as the overall development of a collective socio-economic, political, as well as religious advancement of a country or nation. Development is an idea that embodies all attempts to improve the conditions of human existence in all ramifications and implies improvement in material well-being of the citizens. The anti-corruption crusade of the present government in Nigeria. The paper mentioned that President Muhammadu Buhari averred in his campaign tours, especially during the 2015 general elections, the use of corruption, as well as he pointed out why it was pertinent to put an end to the menace in Nigeria. Despite a number of high-profile prosecutions in the early days of administration by the EFCC, Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the investigation carried out have led to no significant convictions, and the slow pace of court cases has also impeded successful prosecutions of offenders. Corruption and national development in Nigeria. The paper says that Nigeria is blessed with all the raw materials required for steel development, including iron, ore, coal, natural gas, and limestone. And it mentioned the construction of steel plants in Ajaokuta, in Alaja, and then Ajaokuta steel rolling mill, and then the Oshogbo, the one situated in Oshogbo, Jos, and Kaduna. But all these have since folded up due to corruption. The story is different in countries that embark on similar individual industrial journey with Nigeria. Nigeria's case is a different one. So the professor says there seems to be a global consensus among scholars that corruption is a major impediment to governance and development. And corruption is a universal problem. More importantly, is the fact that in spite of universality, manifestation tendencies and complexities of corrupt practices vary across borders. And the sophistication to carry out corrupt practice is also not the same. And this is because technological inventions and strong institutional mechanisms capable of detecting and punishing offenders exist and are more effective in developed society than the undeveloped society. The present state, according to the paper, of many public goods such as schools, roads, railways, airports, hospitals, and so on, seems to be to support the claim that the effect of corruption is negative. And that is why the World Bank 2000 identified corruption as the single greatest obstacle to economic and social development. Africa and Nigeria in particular appear to have made little or no improvements in the areas of national development, making tremendous improvements in establishing corruption as a national guide. In Nigeria, according to the paper, there seems to be no punishment for corruption. And what amplifies corruption in Nigeria is that punishments have been substituted for praises and national awards for individuals alleged to have engaged in corruption acts. And the implication has been the ever-growing unemployment, insecurity, economic hardship with poverty that is on the developing the already underdeveloped Nigeria society. The paper goes on to say that there is no gainsaying that the fact that corruption impedes national development. And the ruling class are proved to be the major promoters of corruption. The continued high prevalence of corruption in Nigeria is as a result of the fact that the leaders seem to have infiltrated escape routes in the making of anti-corruption laws. The Transparency International in 1996 and 2018 even rated Nigeria high among most corrupt states in the world. The paper goes on to say that this leads to reduction in economic growth and development by lowering incentives to invest. It also leads to the divestment in such economies. Corruption contributes immensely to inhibition of economic performance since it negatively affects investments and economic growth. And corruption also contributes to the problem of mass poverty, and it renders millions of Nigerian citizens unemployed and uneducated. And the poverty profile of Nigeria appears to be deteriorating every day. And if you look at the country Nigeria, according to the paper, corruption has led to decaying infrastructure and so on and so forth. So manifestation of corruption has remained the most notorious social menace threatening the general growth and development of Nigeria. And the manifestation of corruption has broadened the gap between the rich and the poor. That means while the rich keeps on becoming rich, the poor keeps on becoming poor. The poor, while the rich keep living in affluence, the poor suffocates in abject poverty and illiteracy. In conclusion, the paper knows that it has become a way of life in Nigeria, that corruption has become a way of life in Nigeria, and this has hindered national development. The growing poverty, unemployment, and insecurity have snowballed into national development crisis. And the paper goes on to recommend that there should be a paradigm change from the hitherto elitist-driven corruption eradication programs to more radically independent and strong anti-corruption institutions that will be capable of penalizing all involved in corrupt practices without fear or favor. Thank you.
Thank you very much to Dr. Mrs. CEO Ajewole Orimoguje for the moderation to the lead paper. Now we'll take question and answers. I will only attend to questions from participants that raise their hands on Zoom. Anybody on YouTube that wants to ask questions can type, we'll see it from there. Participants too can put up their questions forward on the chat room. That is how we'll take questions. This is a virtual conference, so all questions will be taken virtually. So all hands that are raised on Zoom, questions will be identified and we'll put the person up to ask questions. Then those that could not raise hands can type the message on the Zoom platform so that we'll take it from them. Thank you. Okay. And you know where just check those hands. Check. Check those hands. You can see one Raphael. I'm going to take questions in the last. I can take that person. Thank you. No. Person is raising hands. That person is raising hands. And let us take note of all of them. Go to the slide and check the stream. Who else is raising hands? So I can check the there's no other person, right? You can check the chat room. You can check the chat room. The Raphael is raising hands. Go to the next one. No one is there. No one is there. So we can take from ask him to unmute. Ask him to unmute. Mr. Walker, you can unmute yourself. You click on it. Click on this stuff and tell me to unmute. Go and click on it. Yes, ask to unmute. He has unmuted.
Hello?
Go ahead, please.
Hello?
Go ahead, please.
I am Raphael Obuse from Federal Polytechnic Nekede, Owerri, Imo State.
Okay.
I have listened keenly from the keynote address, and I really appreciate the manner in which
sorry, that's not the keynote address. That was the lead paper you listened to, not the keynote address. That was the lead paper. Thank you.
I'm sorry, the lead paper, sir. The lead paper, sir. And I so much appreciate the way and manner it was presented. Now, I have two good questions to put forward on that paper. Number one question.
We lost you.
Hello? Are you getting me?
Yeah.
Are you getting me, sir?
Go ahead, please. Go ahead, please.
Hello? One of the questions I want to put up is this. Why is it that the rate of corruption is on the increase in Nigeria in particular? Number two, why is it that youths, political class, and government officials are deviant from the rules and laid down procedures of doing things? These are my two pertinent questions I have for the lead paper presenter.
Okay.
Hello?
Have you taken that? We cannot hear you, please.
No,
the second question cannot be taken, please. You can repeat the second question, please.
Hello? Cannot hear me.
Go ahead.
Got me now?
Yes, go on, sir.
We can hear you. Go on.
My question is, why is it that government is finding it difficult to arrest corruption problem and insecurity in Nigeria? Why is it? Why is it?
Okay, it's taken. It's taken. That's taken. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
We have another question from the chat room, the lead paper side. We have another question from the chat room. Why is it that the rate of corruption is on increase in Nigeria?
Please ask if there's any other person that has questions.
Any other person that wants to ask questions should please signify. Okay, we have. The question, the person said, I want the presenter to discuss compendiously on mechanism to put in place in order to reduce corruption in Nigeria. The mechanisms to put in place in order to reduce corruption in Nigeria. Any other question? Please, Mr. Raphael, you can lower your hand. We have taken your question. You can lower your hand. Do we have any other person that wants to ask question? Please let me check. We are checking on YouTube to see the questions that we have there. Hmm? Okay. Yes, yes. You can take it.
Yeah, my name is Dr. Motosho Oluyemi Jr. My question is, the prof mentioned this paradigm shift. And since you mentioned paradigm shift, I want to know the nexus between corruption and the present controversy going on in Nigeria on restructuring. If Nigerians should restructure, will corruption be reduced or ameliorated, or will it lead to an increase in corruption, or corruption has become so endemic that it is not part of our culture? I sincerely want to know whether those advocating for restructuring are actually clamoring for it because, you know, it will reduce corruption in the polity. Thank you.
Okay, there's another question from the chat room. Yeah, Justina Solomon is asking, is the recovery of looted fund fighting corruption? If yes, who is responsible for the administration of such funds, or who accounts for them? I don't know if you get the question. I think it's the recovery of looted funds fighting of corruption. If yes, who is responsible for the administration of such fund? Another question from Dr. Ebenezer Bamidele. He's asking, despite teaching challenges, which is but normal and common in our environment. Okay, that's a recommendation actually, not a question. So, thank you, sir. That's I think that's all the questions.
Yes, I want to. Something is wrong. The lecturer presenter will take those questions now.
I want to thank all participants for the questions that have been posed. And I want to say that the link to virtually every of the questions that has been asked, and which, to an appreciable extent, answers whatever question has so far been asked. And that is the fact that the only way and manner by which corruption can be reduced, or in fact, almost absolutely eliminated, is if there is a political will to do so. Let me say, and emphatically too, that one of the things I mentioned in the paper was the fact that there must be an independent agency that will manage matters, issues, and virtually every aspect of corruption. Why? Because as it is presently, it has become evident that corruption, I mean, the EFCC as it presently stands, can only take charge of issues that maybe government is not too directly interested in. We have seen even the EFCC withdrawing cases when it involved some level of senatorial, the Senate presidency election. And that implies that to an appreciable extent, even the EFCC as it stands can be used as a weapon by the government and can also be used to benefit certain other individuals, maybe because they are in the same political party that is ruling. The point, therefore, is that except there is a political will, where the issue of fear or favor will not under any circumstance be in place, we will still be going round and round the same circle. And so that is why corruption is still increasing in Nigeria, because virtually every step that we have taken is pretentious. That is why issues relating to restructuring will not under any circumstance affect the reduction of corruption. Because like we have said, and that happened to be the opening message of this paper, the same COVID-19 that has been corrupt reading in Nigeria had been managed the world over. Why was the case of Nigeria different? These are questions I think we should be asking ourselves, and we should be answering us in any case. Because Nigeria is a country where there is no political will to manage or reduce corruption. It is a country where all that we do is to pretend. It is a country where virtually every step that we take is fraught with one inadequacy or the other, or by certain defects or some disadvantages here and there, to an appreciable extent that will then affect whatever step we might want to take. So until, and I say this without any fear of being misinterpreted, there is a political will, there is a very strong determination to manage corruption in the real sense of it, rather than the very far from a neat manner by which it presently is being managed. Then we will, like I have said earlier, be going round and round the same circle. Thank you.
Thank you very much, the lead paper presenter, Professor Goke Lalude, for the justice to those questions asked. Without wasting much of our time, we are drawing the curtain of the opening ceremony down. No. Then I will, on this note, before I'll request for a vote of thanks, I will call on, I want to inform all the participants that the technical session will start by 1:30 p.m. That is in less than an hour's time. The technical session, the first technical session, will start by 1:30 p.m. All those that have been scheduled to present papers today should please be at alert in the order to which they have been scheduled. Please let us be mindful of the order of schedule or earlier sent to us by the technical committee. We will start the technical session by 1:30 p.m. exactly. Thank you. I will, on this note, invite the Vice Chairman of the Research and Publications Committee, Barrister E.A. Alamu, to give us the vote of thanks. The vote of thanks from Barrister E.A. Alamu. Thank you.
On behalf of the Research and Publication Committee of the School of Business Studies, Federal Polytechnic, I want to sincerely thank our lead presenter, Professor Goke Lalibe. Thank you very much for that beautiful presentation, sir. There is no gainsaying the fact that it was a very brilliant and very scholarly presentation. Many of us for a long time remain guided by that presentation. Thank you once again, sir. Also thank every one of us who has in one way or the other made this opening session a success. Thank you very much, and hope to see every one of us again in the next session. Thank you once again.
Thank you, the Vice Chairman. I want to, on this note, on behalf of the Rector, appreciate the keynote presenter, Professor Adams Onuka. It is disheartening that the network is not allowing us to connect with you. We have taken the keynote address, your keynote address, and it will be uploaded on our platform for all participants and audience to see. Thank you very much. God bless you, sir. It is on this note, I will invite, okay, before we do the closing prayer, after the closing prayer, we will end this ceremony with national anthem and the Federal Poly Ede anthem to draw the curtain. Meanwhile, I want to sincerely appreciate the management of Dr. J.T. Adekola Ole for providing this enabling environment and for taking time to be with us from the beginning to the end. We also enjoin them to once in a while join us for our technical sessions as scheduled in our earlier notice sent to them. The technical session today will start from 1:30 p.m. and from 9 o'clock tomorrow and 9 o'clock on Friday. We implore all the principal officers to check on us once in a while. We also thank all our participants from all states of the Federation as well as globally. I want to use this medium as well to thank our United Kingdom liaison officer from Glasgow in Scotland, Mr. A.I. Motajo. He has been doing wonderfully well and has been connecting with us from there. I equally want to appreciate Dr. Mrs. H.L. Babalola for joining us from Canada, Dr. Mrs. C. Adeusi, the bossa, the Polytechnic librarian, the registrar, the deputy rector admin, the deputy rector academics, and the rector. I want to appreciate the dean, the progressive dean of the School of Business Studies, Dr. Tio Adebayo, and all the HODs in the School of Business Studies, as well as the School of Business Studies Board of Studies, and the entire school board in general for bringing this conference into fruition and reality. I appreciate you all. Thank you and God bless you. I will, on this note, call on Mr. Bankefa to come and give us closing prayer. While after the closing prayer, we will take the national anthem and federal poly Ede anthem, and the conference will close. Thank you. So, okay,
Shall we have the closing prayer now? Almighty God, we thank you. How far you have helped us in this 18th annual national conference of School of Business Studies. Thank you for all the participants. Thank you for all our invitees, our guests, our lead paper presenter, and everyone all over. Thank you for all that you have done so far. We bless your name. Be thou glorified in Jesus' name. We commit everything that we are still planning to do today and day after. Pray that you come and take absolute control in Jesus' name. All our participants and those that have traveled from one place to another, we grant a journey mercy back to their destination in Jesus' name. Thank you, Lord, for answering our prayer. Jesus' mighty name, we are praying.
Can we all rise to take the Polytechnic anthem first and wrap up with the national anthem? Let us all rise, please. May we take the national anthem now? Thank you very much. We'll reconvene by 1:30 p.m. Meanwhile, we will come 15 minutes after 1 so that all participants can join the Zoom. All our audiences can stream live on Facebook and YouTube when it is 1:30 to follow up with the technical session. Thank you. God bless you all.